Hello and welcome, all the losers, freaks, and social outcasts, to the second episode of the E-CEL podcast, your source for all things e-punk and Incelcore. I'm your host, Ofigs, and I thank you for tuning in. Again, I'd like to start off with thanking some of the awesome guys working with me on this, who without, this podcast, it wouldn't be possible. I'd like to thank Not Okay Ghost, LoserGirlfriend, Strepsiades, Fools, State Surveillance, Cringer, and Parzival. All great guys. Go, follow them on SoundCloud. They're awesome musicians too, but I'm glad to have them with me here. Again, this thing wouldn't be happening without them. Just some announcements. First of all, our first episode got a great reception. It came out awesome. Everybody loved it. People are messaging me. They're saying, "Oh, Figs, this is the best interview style content this scene has ever seen." And, it's that's exactly what we were going for. So I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it so much. So we're going to keep it going. Now we're going to try and move to a more consistent upload schedule, hopefully. We're going to try and shoot for bi-weekly, which for the stupid people out there, it means every 2 weeks-ish. We'll probably do uploads on Fridays, but again, that might change a little bit. I mean, I'm not getting paid to do this, and I work a job, so I'll do this whenever I can, but we're going to try and do every 2 weeks. And yeah, hopefully it'll just always be an interview with people. We'll get some of these bigger ideas that we have rolling. Those will be coming out soon. Let me just say, this summer is going to be a big time for the scene. Trust me, a lot of cool things are going to be happening. We got some great ideas in the works. You guys are going to want to stick around to see it. So I'm excited to see where we're going to go with this. We have set up a Twitter account for this channel, just so you guys know. So if you want, go follow us on Twitter at E-CEL Network. We'll be giving updates and stuff on there. We'll be reposting things that we find, like news on the scene. So that'll be more like a news account, so that way you guys can stay up to date on what's happening with e-punk or Incelcore. That'll be more direct method of communication also with us. So if you want to set up an interview, go ahead and contact us on there. You can just DM us there, and we'll get something set up, hopefully, because there's a lot of interesting people in the scene, and we're excited to talk to all of them. We are also hoping to find some sort of artist or graphic design person who'd be willing to lend their talents to this project. Currently, I've set up basically all of the graphic design, which I know it doesn't look like much, but it takes a lot of work, and it'd just be better if we could find somebody who'd be willing to lend their skills too. It'd be great to have somebody else. So if you have any of those skills, please let us know, and we'd be happy to try and get you on here as like a assist person. The last announcement that I really have is for the next show. I'm not going to disclose what it's going to be, but it's going to be big. So make sure you guys are there. It's going to be awesome. So make sure you guys are here for the next show. Stick around, subscribe, like this video, obviously, and it's going to be a good time. Trust me. So with that out of the way, anyways, we've got a new co-host today. I would like to bring on the most consistent and high quality musician in the scene. He's recently done a few big collabs with Cringer, 4for Me, and me. We made a great song together recently. It came out awesome. He's the inventor of Shootercore and one of my personal best friends in the scene. It is my pleasure to introduce to you LoserGirlfriend. Loser, welcome to the show. Great to have you here with me.
Hey, what's up, chuddies? It's good to be here.
So, Loser, you've been here for a while, right? On the scene. I mean, you've got a pretty good track record. You've
Yeah.
blown up recently a little bit, right?
Yeah, maybe a little too much for comfort.
Right. It actually leads us naturally into our first piece of news. You have gone through the Incelcore rite of passage recently because
federal.
Apparently you have been doxxed and had the police called on you.
Yeah, basically a Brazilian that I used to know in real life back in high school. He didn't like my tweets very much, so he basically called the cops. He gave them my mom's place of work. He gave them where I lived, all of the weapons in my house, pretty much everything. Everything about me.
Wow. Did you give him a floor plan too, or?
No, it felt like it. Felt like he was about to. He's about to fucking draw
Wow.
it out, gonna take a picture of me while like a creep shot while I'm trying to walk to work.
So, who is this guy? Why was he so out to get you? I mean, I try not to. I know it may be tempting. Try not to dox him too.
It's
This isn't
very
that
hard.
kind of show. But
I've been going through some thoughts. But yeah, basically I used to be friends with him in high school. And you know, he's very liberal minded, and I was kind of like, "Hey, you're fucking I don't want to be friends with you anymore." And you're Brazilian. And then you know, so I guess he didn't like that very much. So it's been 2 years and he's still stalking me. So he really likes that apparently. He likes taking info.
might be some jealousy there, possibly, huh?
Yeah, maybe. He was saying that I was a member of the Aryan Brotherhood,
Wow.
which I am not.
Impressive.
I'm not a member, I must say.
Okay. Yeah, it's really too bad because, dude, I've said it forever. I love your music, and if I had to bet on anybody becoming big, it'd be you. You know, you'd be the next big
Yeah.
thing. But you've unfortunately, because of this whole situation, had to remove most of your uploads from
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
So basically, they're all privated right now. I'm kind of waiting for this to blow over because I know that he's still lurking, you know? He's like a shark. And I'm basically waiting for this to blow over, and hopefully the songs will be back up by at most the end of summer.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. It's too bad you're gonna miss out on the White Boy Summer, but
Yeah, that is really too bad.
I would like to tell our audience he's still got some music up, right? You still got some songs
Yeah,
that are
hopefully
on
I'm
there.
going to be working on a song today. Hopefully.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd like to call the audience here. You go support Loser Girlfriend. We got to be there for our guys when this sort of stuff happens to them. You know, that's maybe if you're in this scene, you don't consider yourself an incel, but you know you're here because you think society hates you, you don't fit in, and this is the only place where guys like us can really find a community. So we got to stick together here. Go show Loser some support. You know, follow him on SoundCloud, like his songs, repost his songs. Hopefully, you'll be making a massive comeback here soon, and I'm sure you will be. You're very consistent with your uploads. I mean, literally, you make a new song like every other day. It's insane, and they all sound good. That's the weird part, you know.
Well,
But
yep, I will be back.
well, okay then. Moving on then from that, the next big piece of news, Cameron Phlodge has recently posted onto his Instagram account a post that we'll put it on the screen for those of you guys who are watching on YouTube. He made this post on Instagram that says the following. I'm just going to read it out because it's kind of big news. He says, quote, "Facts. Camo hoodlums are over because of me and Popkill growing bored of the redneck aesthetic, which has reached peak normie interference, and also because of a very obnoxious fan base of weens. I will be releasing one last album under Cameron Phlodge, and that's it. It'll be out of either the end of the year or beginning of next year, and I plan on making it as inaccessible for you peons as possible. We're all starting new projects because power chord rock about girls is training wheels and you should evolve. F you all, and Shooter was right. Okay, bye, smiley face." And he's accompanied that with a picture of his big fat face. This is kind of shocking. Cameron has obviously been around for a little while. Him and Popkill are like best friends. They work on songs together all the time. And for those of you who don't know, Cameron is his niche sort of in the scene is singing specifically, as he said, about redneck stuff. Some of his more popular songs are like Going Fishing or Hunting Season. Stuff like that has to do with, you know, country bumpkin stuff. And I've always liked that. You know, I'm kind of a fan of the weird And it's definitely a weird crossover, redneck with, e-punk, which is always been interesting, but I like some of those songs. I wonder if this has anything to do, and maybe you can give some insight on this, Loser. His recent album was called Wilbur. So Cameron released this album called Wilbur, and it was all about some chick named Rachel, every single song on it, which was
Yeah.
to me, a little simpish. I don't know. What was your opinion on it?
No, I did think that that was a little bit odd. I don't know. Me, I could never make a song just. I don't know. I haven't had a simp experience, so I couldn't say. But I
Right.
will say, yeah, it's a bit odd for Incelcore.
And the album was, I mean, it sounded fine to me. It's just the lyrics were, I don't know, it was just so off-putting. He mentions that he's leaving Incelcore, and he says he also calls it power chord rock about girls. It's like, isn't this just indicative of how far the scene has fallen, where people are associating it with that?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he thinks that I mean, sorry, not to like fucking call him out. I don't have any qualms with him. But yeah, it's definitely not all just about like, oh, girls, oh my god, it's all about the girls. No, it's not really, it's not the whole point of it.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of fallen away from that. And even his sons, like I said, like going fishing or hunting season, they weren't necessarily about uh like chicks. I mean, I think they had those themes, but
Yeah.
they were more interesting than that. So, yeah, so apparently he's going to be leaving and maybe deleting everything after this next album that's coming out. So, I guess archivists get to work with Cameron.
Let's get Chud maxed on this.
Yeah. And I wonder if Popkill's going to be leaving with him too, because like I said, they're really
I hope not.
close. Yeah, they both make good music. It'll be a shame to lose both of them, but if that's how it's going to be, I guess that's how it is. So, last piece of news to bring up is there is this new album, a big album by Hallowed called It's So Over, We're So Back. That just came out recently, and it features a return of Werewolf Hair, who was an old head. He's been in the scene, forever, since before it was even really a scene. He's been making music for a long time, and before this album, Werewolf Hair's last upload was like 8 months ago or something. So he's made a return. The album sounds very interesting to me. What have you heard it, Loser?
I haven't.
It's kind of flown under the radar, it seems, because not a lot of the songs have a lot of views.
Yeah, send me a link after this. I'll take a listen.
Yeah, totally. We'll include a link to this in the description of the video too, if anybody else wants to check it out. But I listened through the whole thing. I had some friends who were on it, and it sounds like it's going for kind of a electrical, melodic, kind of like, I want to say groovy type of feel to it. It's very different, but in a good way. I like some of the songs on it. I've already added some to my playlists. But anyways, with that, I think that about does it for the news. And so we're going to bring on Nation of No One, the man of the hour. Let's get him in here. Okay, so he's an old head who's been in the scene for a very long time. He's collabed with several big names, including Below Ground and Hallowed. He's recently released his own album called The Furnace and had a song featured on Hallowed's new album, It's Over, We're Back. Everybody, welcome Nation of No One. Welcome to the show, Nation.
My pleasure, Figs. Yep, Nation of No One. You can call me Ray, and it's more or less as you said. I've been following the e-punk scene all the way back when I discovered Negative XP's music through Vapor Memory, actually. I know a lot of people discovered it through like TikTok and the Scott Pilgrim song, but I remember when Vapor Memory reposted KMS, and that was the first time I ever heard that kind of music and became fascinated with like lo-fi DIY punk rock.
Wow, what's Vapor Memory? Is that like a vaporwave channel or something?
Yeah, actually, it was more centered around electronic music, but I guess the owner of the channel, for some reason, really, at the time at least, digged what Shooter did with KMS, in spite of the edgy presentation of it. It had a very unique sound and aesthetic to it that it was distinct enough to where even when I did discover the Scott Pilgrim song, I didn't immediately connect that this was the same guy writing writing those songs.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, what about year was this that this happened? You think when you discovered it?
Approximately maybe like 2019, I think it was.
Okay, yeah, we so that's just before sort of the song, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like really blew up. So you were in right before then, huh?
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha. Well, sort of speaking about your history with the scene, you even go back music wise further than the scene. You didn't get started in Incelcore.
Yeah,
You have a mildly successful YouTube channel, a few thousand subscribers, and your first upload was all the way back in 2013, and it was a song. And if I'm not wrong, that was with a band, that song?
Yeah, depending on which video it was, if it's the one where there's a picture of a blue banner and it says Nation of No One on it, Nation of No One used to be a band and it had several incarnations before I just became like the figurehead for like the compositions. I was always kind of like just the primary songwriter, and well, everybody had their own things they had to go do, so I just kind of kept recording and kept working on the project and to try and make something of it. So yeah, that was a whole bunch of old demos we originally recorded and then re-recorded later on the first Nation of No One album.
Gotcha. So the other band members fell away and you were just sort of left holding the brand.
More or less, yeah. I mean, like, so on the topic of recording the Nation of No One album, I basically had there were only two other mainstay members of the band, a drummer and a second guitarist, and they both quit during the middle of the recording sessions. The album was like 90% finished. I had invested tons of money into like the imaging, the packaging, the CDs, blah 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 blah, the sessions themselves. That was pre me being good enough to like record my own music at home on a laptop. So like it was a ton of money wasted for them all to just kind of like go off and do their own thing. But hey, bygones be bygones. It is what it is. Funny enough, the song you mentioned on Hallowed's new compilation album came from the first Nation of No One album. That is literally the first song I ever wrote, Grave Robert.
Wow. Okay. And when did this happen? Nation of No One, that's like your first album, right?
Yep, self-titled.
What year was that?
Session, or when did I start the band?
It was in 2013.
Yeah, get somewhere around there, because that was like the year I graduated high school. I started it during high school.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that's also when you first started posting on Facebook and stuff, because I looked at all of your accounts, like every account that you own to my knowledge, and that's also when you started posting on Facebook back in like 2014. So did you have any internet access like before then?
So, actually, internet access was a little bit scarce at that time. My parents really couldn't afford it, and there wasn't as big of a societal necessity for it. So, whenever I needed internet, I would always just like bum walk it up to the library and go handle my business there. So yeah, no, for a short period, I really didn't have a whole lot of access to internet. Then as time went by, it became a little bit easier and a little bit more mandatory to be online, especially if you're going to do this kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was this band something that you started just with like your friends, or was it
friends and high school acquaintances? Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like some really classic, like I know it was before the scene, but that really does to me sound like classic Incelcore. You're walking to a library just to get internet access so you can upload the stuff. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. And during my high school years, I didn't have a girlfriend and did have a lot of incelish tendencies. I mean, so if you go through my YouTube channel, there was a short period after I had this like kind of like mental breakdown over this girl I was dating online, and I just went full on like black pill this and sell that and just like dumb shit like that. And I still have the videos on my YouTube channel, so like those were there. That was a period of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember watching it actually, the Plenty of Fish video where you were talking
Yeah.
about the black pill experience. I actually really liked that video.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, that was one of many interesting experiences for me, just trying to like feel better about myself by having female interaction, and I've come a long way since then. I feel a little bit more rounded in that respect, and I feel like comfortable in my own skin without needing female validation or validation from anyone really.
So, before then, when you did have these, like you said, incel-like tendencies, did you have that coming into the scene? You know, when you discovered it and negative XP, and you found that there was sort of like this culture of like, you know, like you said, online punk that has some incel themes to it. Were you still an incel then, or consider yourself one?
Yeah, definitely. So here's kind of like a major distinction that I've always kind of viewed when it came to my music, though, is that I was an incel that was just happened to be a musician and made music. Like I might have used the word incel core here and there to like boost algorithm shit when that was actually popular and all, but I never really considered myself like part of the movement per se, or at least certainly not a defining factor of it, because a good portion of the music I write isn't even rock, let alone punk or incelcore. I write a lot of different things. I write instrumental music, I compose, you know. So like it's the difference between what Negative XP and the Ultra artists were, a lot of which weren't even incels themselves, versus somebody like Mainlander, who 100% was an incel, and like the lyrics reflected heavily in his music, but no one ever called Mainlander incelcore.
Sure. All right. Well, that makes some sense because you're not entirely alone with that. Just an incel who makes music. I
No,
think there's
definitely not.
plenty of guys in the scene like that, you know?
And before the scene existed, there were artists like that, like Daniel Johnston, for instance.
Right? I'm not actually familiar with that guy. You probably know way more than me, considering you were, you know, totally integrated into the online culture before it was even a scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just like I said, I had a fascination with at-home DIY music like that, and Daniel Johnston came out in the '80s, very lo-fi stuff, and you know he had mental issues, and he had an obsession with a girl and all that jazz, and he never really, as far as I know, had a successful relationship. So
Some
there's like an
real,
element that kind of like mixes from that to the modern era, in my
yeah,
opinion, and I think it works well.
some real proto incel core there, like the
Yeah.
Neanderthals of incel core.
Sorry,
Um,
ancestry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, sort of then, because you have this unique perspective of being around for so long and being a part of the scene, what was it like seeing the Scott Pilgrim versus the World ruin an entire generation of women song? I think everybody kind of agrees that's really when the scene started, when that song started blowing up, because it
It
attracted a lot of people
it
in.
definitely helped put it in the public view, most
Uh,
certainly.
What was that like? Did you witness, did you see the community start to form then, or do you think it formed before then, or what are your
It
thoughts on that?
formed primarily when Shooter started releasing the MK Ultra albums, the MK Ultra support group albums, because it allowed the input of other artists to kind of like shift the scene into a solid identity. And
And
the
where do
funny
you
thing
think,
about that
oh,
is like it did so along the lines of not having like a consistent sound, because besides Hard Christ and Negative XP, the MK Ultra group artists were very diverse in terms of their musical approaches, and it was really fascinating to watch.
that was definitely one of the major draws to it for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, and still is. It's one of the most unique parts of the scene is that really the only common thread any of these artists truly have is that it's all amateur producing, you know, amateur music, right?
Yeah,
There's obviously a few who really take it to a new level. Like I think Hallowed, you obviously do a great job with your production skills. who's that
I
guy?
mean, in Hallowed's case, he even has a whole band to play his music, whereas the most of the rest of us just like play our music by ourselves. And well, you see
Yeah.
what Negative XP and Jezebel have been doing these days for live shows. They just play acoustic guitars if they don't get fucking canceled. You know?
No, you're totally right. And Czar, though, I think he's alone, but he does an awesome job with his production skills. It's
Well,
just incredible.
the thing about that particular subsection of Incelcore, as they've diverged and began calling themselves True Cult Neofolkabilly or whatever the fuck it is these days, they know a lot of each other's songs and could basically just like fill in wherever and whenever they needed to, and like that was interesting to watch as well. I think that was good for them.
Sure. Well, sort of talking about those the branching genres of the scene. You obviously must have been around for the Incelcore versus bedroom punk debate, right? That was the first big rift in the scene.
Yeah, that was kind of like a social divide that was led by with Love Mom. I think him and a lot of the people in his Discord server wanted to call it like bedroom punk because it was spoke more truly to the means of creation, and also just address the fact that a lot of these people weren't even incels or didn't have an ideology that was like built around like this weird niche internet identity. And it wasn't just him, it was with Love Mom, but then you also had the Underground Anonymous podcast. Obviously, like, they had their own ways, then they certainly weren't incels, so
Right. And which the opposite side was sort of led by I'm looking back. I didn't really get super heavily involved. I've been listening since 2020, but I didn't get super heavily involved until this last year. But it seems the opposing side, pro incel core, was like led by Slater. Am I right in saying that?
yeah.
So which side did you find yourself on, or were you just sort of watching it?
I more or less just observed because, like, at the end of the day, music by any other name is just organized sound, and we like to come up with these like silly little words to in an attempt to kind of like describe them and whatnot, but it doesn't necessarily speak to the actual content of the experience of listening to somebody's music. Bedroom punk, I felt like, was a better identity to call it, and just kind of got more to the heart of like what was being done here. But call it whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter to me. It's all
Sure.
just music.
Do you have with that opinion though, do you think one side won over the other?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
In the case of with Love Mom, he still makes music.
Does
I
he?
think he
I
makes
thought his account shut down. Like it's
not as with Love Mom. He doesn't perform under that name or Small Head Big Brain. I can't remember the name of his other band. I might have said it wrong, but I think he just performs under his like actual name now, and he has a band.
oh,
I saw him post some demos and stuff.
gotcha. Okay, that's interesting. He made some great music with Love Mom. I still listen to some of those. It's too
Funny,
bad he stopped.
fun. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, no, he didn't stop. He
Well,
just
not
doesn't
stop,
under
obviously.
yeah.
This is news to me. I'm glad to hear it.
I got a funny story. So, like, I actually hit him up about wanting to be on the Manson family murder tapes. So I wasn't able to get onto the first one. He said he would let me onto the second one, and then didn't. Also, his music definitely took some inspiration from me because I wrote a song called "It's Okay to Bully Pedophiles, Ooh Woo," and released it on my self-destruct album. My bad, self-destruct button album. And then he, with his like other band, Big Brain Small Brain, released a song called "It's Okay to Bully Pedophiles," and he told me basically told me it was based off of my song.
I
Wow.
remember. I
Yeah.
remember that song, and wasn't it based off of a guy in your YouTube comments that was like defending pedophilia or something?
That might have been one of the inspirations for the why I wrote that song, but a lot of things inspired it. At that time, I was watching a lot of like Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, the sting operations from that. I was
Yeah.
that was kind of like my popcorn end of the day material to watch.
I just remember seeing your YouTube channel get swarmed by a bunch of people that were like, actually, it's not okay to bully pedophiles. There's
Yeah,
like a lot of
yeah.
pro pedophile people.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack for that shit. But basically, I actually no, I think it was on the song itself that I released it. When I released it on my YouTube channel, that's when I got those comments, and then I made a follow-up video making fun of them.
Yeah.
No, I'm just a very mean person sometimes, and pedophiles are kind of like an easy group to bully and get away with. So, like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm super noble in that regard, but yeah, I wrote that song because fuck pedophiles.
Well, you'll fit right in here because this scene is full of mean-spirited people. Vinegar in their veins. And
I try to be a little bit better about it these days, though. You know, I'm almost 30. I can't be a mean, hateful person for the rest of my fucking life. You know,
almost 30. That's incredible. This is
I know,
kind
right?
of a young person
I'm not
scene.
gonna complete the dead by 30 prophecy. No, I'm actually gonna make it to 30. One up
You
me
got the
now,
wizard.
Incelcore.
Have you run into any like generational issues? Like, because to my knowledge, a lot of the artists are like under 20, even. You know.
No, I mean, like, it's kind of to be expected. It's a new form of popular rock music. It's basically a derivative of punk. It makes a perfect amount of sense that a lot of young people would be interested in it and want to get involved with it because that's the way it's been for any generation or new wave of rock and roll music.
Definitely. Well, okay. And I mean, really, you sort of have a claim to it anyway, since you've been a part of it for so long, you know? So,
I was an observer for a while, and I've integrated myself slowly but surely, but in a lot of ways, just kind of forcing myself into it. You know,
definitely.
I
Which
have a
one of
way
your
of putting
songs do you
myself up.
think would you consider when you first started actually making what you would call like Incelcore?
Ooh. There were songs that I wrote that were kind of inspired, but I wouldn't say I really wrote a real quote unquote incel core song until I wrote I Want to Be a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, I remember that the Randy Stair song.
Yeah, yeah, the song about Randy Stair.
Gotcha.
Andrew Blaze. Fuck that guy.
And have you made any songs since then that you would class as specifically either e-punk or incelcore?
Lol Cow. Lol Cow was very e-punk inspired, although I feel like I kind of made it a little bit more complex than its usual formula by putting a C7 chord in there. Although Jezebel does a few songs where she plays C7s. So, I mean, that's, I guess, not that strange. And of course, you know, Cyborg, he's all over the place with his chord progressions. A lot of people get stuck in the, you know, power chords way of thinking with this kind of music because or they might just be starting out or they might not consider other possibilities. And obviously Lil Cow is just singer songwriter chords.
Sort of speaking of those bigger names, you're followed by a ton of big names like in the
Yep.
scene. Is that just because you've just been it for so long and you knew them before they were big, or?
It's because I've talked with them and shared my music with them, you know, like not super like involved, you know. The one I would say I talk to the most with and the closest I would say that I'm a friend to are Bryn and Below Ground.
Gotcha.
Those are the
Okay.
two people I've talked with the most, and I've actually played a live show with Bryn at a festival that another band that I play in, I should say, they had a music festival they were involved with running called Noise Fest, and I invited Bryn out to play a set of her music, and we did a collab cover of Nothing Ever Feels Alright by Jezebel, so we played that live too, and yeah, she's
Does
like
she
the
play live music? I thought she has like her music made for her, basically.
No, she can play guitar. She can sing and play guitar. She actually brought like a keyboard player and a drummer to play with us during her set. Sometimes she plays the backing tracks too, but sometimes she actually has a band. Last I checked.
So you say that you're friends with Bryn and Below Ground. Those are two totally separate people
No, sure.
in the scene, you know. Bryn is obviously a female and kind of leans more towards the whole e-punk side of things. And Below Ground, obviously, like, I mean, just look at some of his song titles. Dude's like straight up, you know, in it with Incelcore, right? Even though if he's not necessarily one himself, but and also I think he's also an old head like you are. He's been in it for a while.
Yeah, the first thing he released was a cover EP of Negative XP and XL Willow songs. He deleted it since then, but that was my introduction to his music, and I liked his interpretations of those songs. I thought they were pretty groovy. I just
Gotcha.
generally really liked XO Willow at that time because I never heard anything like that. It was like its ridiculousness just really drew me in, and I was just like, this is cool.
Sure. And just what I'm sort of getting at with that, though, and I don't mean to be mean when I say this, but it really shows that you kind of are like a observer, a passive observer, maybe some would say fence sitter, because those are two entirely different sides of the scene who have their own, lovers and haters.
I'm okay with being called an observer. Fence sitter, though, well, you're assuming I have to choose a side on that front, and I don't feel like I do. For one thing, Below Ground and Bryn, last I checked, they get along fine. So
Sure, and I can agree with that. Like I said, but I would say there are many fans in the scene who would say, I would think people who love Below Ground would say like, oh, you shouldn't listen to Bryn, or Bryn, I'm sure has followers who would say the same thing about Below Ground.
So, real quick story time, and this is another thing I kind of wanted to get in with you about. So you can, I'm glad you brought this whole pick a side thing up because I want to talk about just how fake some of that shit is for some people.
Go ahead.
Like, the big beef Fried by Fluoride has with Shooter because Shooter like copyright took down his cover of what was it? Play Through the Pain.
Yeah, he's made a big deal of it. He's even made a tweet recently sort of mocking Shooter, right? He said like, just threw my milkshake at a Asian guy with a mullet or something.
Okay, so here's the deal. If you seriously wanted to upload that song, all you had to do was like ask the fucking guy. So here's the thing. Bryn was trying to put together a show with a ton of different fucking people. It never came into fruition, but Fried by Fluoride was one of them, and he wanted to play a show with Shooter. So it was going to be Brand, Shooter, me, Fried by Fluoride, Jezebel, Cyborg, and Hard Christ. I think maybe Neat. I don't remember if Neat was going to be part of it. But yeah, no, we were going to all play a show together, and it never came to fruition. So it's just like, dude, it's one thing to record a cover of somebody else's song and release it as a sort of like non-profit thing, because Lord knows, practically every Incelcore artist did that. It's another thing to upload it onto Spotify where you can profit from it. And if you wanted to do that, at the very least, how about asking Shooter first if it's okay with him? Especially if you're willing to play a show with the guy. I think that's fair.
So when was this show supposed to happen?
That was about 2 years ago, I think it was now at this point. It was shortly after Doomerfest that I invited Bryn to come out and play Noise Fest with me. And it was after that Bryn started to try and organize everything all together.
I would sort of say, comparing Shooter with how he was 2 years ago versus now, what Fried's opinion might be of him. I can't remember when that song was copyright struck. That was a few months ago, wasn't it?
A little bit longer. So if you'll recall, Shooter started taking down the Up to the Wolves music videos, and it was shortly after that he tried to put Play Through the Pain on Spotify.
Right, and that's what I was going to bring up, that Shooter he kind of really broke with the scene. Like, a lot of people do not like him anymore because of all of that. Taking down Up to the Wolves was a huge blow to the community.
Yeah, so again, that's another thing that I have a little bit of nuance on, because like, I definitely thought that was a step in the wrong direction for Shooter to take. I think that was a little bit fucking overboard. But at the same time, that could have happened with any of the other artists. That could have happened with the people that own the visual media that Up to the Wolves was using. In my personal opinion, Up to the Wolves should have been trying to reach out to some of these artists to like produce real music videos instead of just like edits. If you're really serious about this, then, the artist should first off be paying Up to the Wolves for the work he's fucking doing. And, second off, try and do it official and make something out of it.
Well, I guess that's why everybody had a problem with it because the whole scene is built on, amateurishness and it's just guys in our bedroom, and that's who Up to the Wolves was. I mean, I didn't know the guy. I never talked with him, but I imagine that's what he was. I don't think he was like some highbrow producer or anything. He's just a guy with talent, and
Oh yeah, talent and potential. I actually hit the guy
exactly.
up shortly after that. I have his email. I haven't been able to contact him recently, but I did intend to get a hold of him as soon as I had like some video footage and stuff that I wanted like put into edits and or have him edit it and make a music video for me. I just never got around to doing that.
So is he not around anymore? Because that guy just straight up leaving after losing his YouTube is such a waste, man. He could have still been a big name in the scene if he stuck around for a little bit.
I don't know. Sadly, I haven't contacted him since then.
Gotcha.
Again, like music videos are kind of hard for me to put out because, well, you see what my discography looks like. I'm more into writing the music than I'm too worried about like making visual content for people these
Sure, but
days, at
you do have a
least.
YouTube channel though, as
Yes.
like I said, it has a fair amount of subscribers. I myself started as a YouTuber first before I got into the scene, so
Okay,
it's
so I
kind of
have a little bit of a confession to make about my subscriber count. You'll
oh
you might get a laugh at this, but basically the reason I have 1,000 subs right now on YouTube is because I made cheap clickbait video compilation videos. And there was a bit of a dual purpose. I wanted to like put content out there that kind of showcased just how, bad drug use can be and just how it really fucks you up and makes you look like a fucking moron. And so I compiled videos of people getting fucked up on Xanax, fucked up on PCP, and put it out there as like compilation videos. The Xanax video did incredibly well. It did 1 million fucking views. And
gotcha.
that's how I was able to get like 1,000 subs on YouTube.
Wow. Well, I gotta respect the bag chasing, man. I can't knock a guy for trying.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It was cheap gratification, but it does serve a bit of a more useful purpose because I can live stream from my phone now, and that's how I do like the little live shows that I do every now and again from my YouTube channel. So there is a genuine use behind that cheap way I got fucking subs.
Right, right. Sort of to bring the topic back to your interactions with the scene, you've mentioned that you've tried to set up or have been part of these live shows. I want to know, did you go to either Virgin Fest or Doomerfest?
I had my own show I had to play when Virgin Fest was happening and wouldn't have been able to like leave the state, unfortunately. However, Doomerfest was close enough for me to be able to go, so I went to Doomerfest.
Now,
There's a brief second in the IRL music video where you'll see a guy's elbow with like a red and black white-ish hoodie, and that is me.
wow. Awesome. A Nation of No One feature, an elbow feature.
Yeah, literally.
So I'm actually glad that you've gone to Doomerfest. I think Virgin Fest has been talked to death, especially with those big videos that have been put out on, the scene, and that's all they talk about is Virgin Fest. Doomerfest is a lesser known event that happened after Virgin Fest, right? It was supposed to be like a second part of it, right? I personally
Yeah.
don't know a whole lot about it, but all I know is a lot of people considered it a giant failure. What are your thoughts on it?
It was very chaotic because Raven just generally isn't good at organizing festivals. Even Virgin Fest itself is a good example of her not being good at organizing festivals. Because here's the thing you have to understand in regard to Virgin Fest, to kind of shift the topic to that for a second. Even if Antifa didn't like do what they did and fuck Antifa, obviously, you also gotta realize that the tattoo parlor that Raven was trying to have this thing at was way too small. I think Turkey Tom actually included a video of the a picture of the place in his video. I watched that again recently,
Hmm.
and if it was that dinky little fucking shack, it was just like. Raven, you can't have hundreds of people in a place like that for a show that wild, dude. That was a big mistake. It was gonna get canceled either way.
Right.
But yeah, no, there was a little bit of disorganization with Doomerfest. Obviously, Zaril had his shitty moment where he punched Bryn, and fuck him for that.
So why did that happen?
Fuck if I know. So here's my second my second day of Doomerfest. Okay, I go up to there, Ravens with all her crew of friends, and I go up to them and I'm like, hey, so guys, who's going up first? I wanted to know who it was, and they told me it was Bryn. And just out of the blue, Zaril tells me that he's gonna punch Bryn. I looked at him and I was like, I don't think she's gonna like that very much. And then he gave me this like wide-eyed look at like, no, she's gonna love it, dude. And it was weird, but I just kind of played it off like, okay, it's some kind of gag that they have going or something. I don't know. So then what I was also not expecting, because they didn't tell me this though, was that Zaril, Cyborg, and Jezebel were actually going to form a backing band for her for the final 2 songs of her set. That was cool as fuck, dude. And it's to think that it got ruined by that shitty fucking moment just for the sake of a dumb gag, and it was just like, dude, yeah.
So
Was it caught on
I didn't
video?
get it. Huh?
Was it caught on video? Because I saw a video of somebody punching Bryn on like a couch, and I want to know if that's like the same thing.
Yeah, that was Zaril too.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
They looked very fake.
No, that there was a video where I think it was just kind of a gag they were doing, but at Doomerfest, Zaril actually punched Bryn hard, and she had to.
Oh, he just went full force.
Yeah.
Wow. So a lot of people don't really know about Doomerfest. Do you want to go into like what it was, like where it was at, who was playing, and sort of how it fell apart?
Well, again, it's even after that happened, like it didn't immediately fall apart. Everybody got to play their set lists. Fried by Fluoride did the Fried by Fluoride thing and didn't show up for the show.
Well, who all was supposed to play, and where was it at?
Fuck, I can't remember the name of the venue. It was out like in a parkish type area, but it had like a stage. And fuck yeah, I can't remember the.
Oh, you don't need to dox the location. I was sort of just wondering, like, so we could all get a mental image of where this was taking place at.
Funny enough, I was chasing a girl out in that area from Pennsylvania like 2 years before that, but it's like close-ish to Philadelphia, I would say.
And who all was supposed to play?
Okay, so you had Zarabamba, Zaril, Glock Angel, Doc Chub, Kiss. I think Cyborg also played on the first day. I missed his set, because I was running late. Zarbamba, I think, was like the headliner for the first day. I don't remember if I'm leaving out any artists though. Then
so
the
this
second
is a multi-day thing.
Yeah, the second day, it had Bryn, Greens on Toast, Hallowed, Jezebel, Eggy. I think that's it.
And so the first day, I guess, went fine, and the second day is when that punch happened and sort of threw things into disarray, or?
Well, there was also some dumb shit happening in between that, too. I guess on the first day, again, I didn't personally witness this. I arrived late to the show, so this probably happened, like, well earlier, but for whatever fucking reason, the True Cult Neofolkabilly guys were playing around with, like, a piece of roadkill or something and tossing around a dead animal, and... Ew, is all I can say to that. Also, Raven wanted it to be a straight edge show, and literally nobody did that. You know, everybody had drinks and all that jazz. You know?
Oh, gotcha. And did that become a big problem for the second day when you were there, or?
No, not for me. I mean, like, I was sneaking edibles, but I was doing that at my car. I wasn't doing it out in the open, you know what I mean? And I didn't...
Like a gentleman.
I didn't drink until I got back to the hotel.
Gotcha. So, I mean, so far, what you've described, it really doesn't sound that bad. Why do people think this was a failure?
I don't know. It's just that... Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Besides Bryn getting punched and Raven not being as organized with the show as she should have been, like, there's an effort of responsibility that I think Raven needed to play her part in the sequence of events that she didn't want to and wasn't capable of doing.
And was this after Raven had sort of had her reputation destroyed with the whole I think she had
Yeah. There was also a lot of really shitty gaslighting that Jezebel went through about that, because, you know, they did that whole, like, oh, Jezebel is, like, this messed up person who, like, serial touches people, or, like, I think they literally said Yowler Hornet got raped by her, like, dumb shit
Yeah,
like that. But then
I remember
Raven
that.
kind of, like, really gassed her up about actually still playing the show, because, like, she said that she would be letting a lot of fans down and whatnot, which may have been the case. I'm thankful for the fact that she still toughed it out anyways, and I got to see her play live. That was really great. But yeah, no, if I was in Jezebel's shoes, I would have told them to eat shit. I'm not fucking playing, because this is bullshit, you know?
How many people were there, do you think?
About 100, I would say. There was a decent amount
Wow.
of people there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good turnout. So I guess sort of moving on, we're talking about Raven a little bit here. You actually have recently gotten into some drama yourself. I guess Raven is dating Greens on Toast, and you made a song
Yeah.
referring to her as a Yoko Ono,
Yeah.
and Greens learned about this and got upset with you. You had a public spat on Twitter.
Yeah.
So my question would be, were you and Green's friends and you were like looking out for him with this, or what's the deal?
We mutually respected each other as artists, and I imagine to an extent we still do, even if he doesn't like me on a personal level. But yeah, no, it's just like I'd been down similar roads dating girls that I met online and got fucked over by them, or at least I felt like I got really fucked over by my ex, and I just didn't want to see this guy go through that pain, just because, like, you know, he seemed like a really chill dude when I met him at Doomerfest, and, you know, I would hate to see that spirit get dampened by a bad fucking relationship.
Sure.
So,
I mean, hasn't Raven had her OnlyFans leaked or something like that?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
Loser, am I misremembering here?
No, I'm pretty sure that she did have her OnlyFans leaked. I remember that. I might.
Jeez.
I think so.
Well, I guess in this
I'm like
scene, beggars can't be choosers.
60% sure.
Yeah, no, I also wrote Ditch Yoko Ono as a sort of like it had a dual purpose. Yeah, the lyrics were inspired by that, but also, if you'll recall, that was also when the whole iDub Sam Hyde thing was going on, and that's literally where the title of that song comes from, Ditch Yoko Ono, and it was Sam Hyde talking about iDubbbz. So it's just like, sometimes you gotta be a dick to speak truth, even if it hurts, you know what I mean? And I felt like, at least at the time, that's what I was doing. However, I also kind of muddied up the message by, I feel like I mentioned something about t-shirts or something, and I think Greens on Toast felt like I was trying to, like, profit from the situation, and I agreed that that was kind of shitty of me, so I apologized to him for that, but yeah. But no,
Gotcha.
I made it very clear to him that I was really just speaking my mind, and, like, he wanted me to know, like, why I didn't just, like, talk with him about it personally. Well, for one thing, I'm kind of antisocial and kind of hard to talk to, and usually if I feel some kind of way, I just write a song about it, you know? So that's what all I was doing, but I didn't want it to be like, you know, I Can Fix Him Part 2, because I felt like all the drama that came from that song was pretty gay to him too, so I never recorded the song. I just kept the video up.
Gotcha. And in your defense too, I like Greens on Toast. I like his recent song, Stay at Home Boyfriend. He's a great artist, but
Actually haven't heard his newer stuff. The last track I remember listening to was Eat More Chicken. I thought that song was pretty
well,
good.
he's been consistently good for a long time. But
Oh,
if
yeah.
he's going to be publicly dating this girl who has a horrible reputation in the scene, I mean, he's got to expect some blowback. You know.
On the other hand, I haven't personally asked anyone about this because it's not my business, but I do still follow Greens and Raven on Instagram, and I don't see any of their pictures together no more. So I might have been right.
Yeah, well, might be something there then. Maybe,
Or alternatively,
vindicated.
because again, I don't know what these people are going through, it could have been Greens that acted shitty to Raven, you know?
Right.
So all I know is I don't think they're together anymore.
Gotcha. Well, okay. Yeah, just interesting to hear your take on that whole situation.
Want to know when Raven actually blocked me on Twitter? Because that's also kind of funny. Like, it had
Sure.
nothing to do with the song. Like, she only blocked me after the cover of Cool Daddy-O that Owen Adam Keck did got reposted by our Stevie Moore, who was like the original guy who wrote that song. I tweeted at our Stevie Moore about something. I don't remember what it was, but he retweeted me after retweeting that song. And I guess Raven might have saw that, so she blocked me after that.
Why would she block you over that?
Petty shit.
But I'm not familiar with that song specifically.
Well, so our Stevie Moore is kind of like an old school DIY lo-fi rock and roll musician. I wouldn't call him an incel, but like this kind of goes back to the idea that a lot of this is outside of the niche internet shit is like a long tradition that has existed well before the e-punk scene was even a thing. And I think Owen Adam Keck kind of realized that and did a cover of Cool Daddy-O. And Owen was a friend of Raven, so she reposted. I think she sent it to our Stevie Moore. And yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so it makes sense now. All right. Well then, to sort of move on to more about you specifically, if I could just talk for a second here. We've been talking about how you, whether by virtue of just being here forever or just making, happening to make great connections with these like live music stuff, you've interacted with a lot of big names in the scene in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, and you've been here for so long and you've made tons of music, and yet a lot of your music really hasn't, blown up in any big way. I believe even your most popular song is one that it's sung by Below Ground and it's on a already popular comp album. Whereas all your other music, I think, usually gets less than like 1,000 listens.
Funny. So my most popular piece of music is something I did a score for an indie horror film. It's literally just called Ominous Piano Theme. And that is literally the most popular piece of music I have ever written.
Is that on your YouTube channel?
You can find it on the one that's auto-generated by like DistroKid.
Gotcha.
And also on another streaming site, like on these weird foreign streaming sites. I had a piece of music I wrote called Counting My Sorrows, and that did pretty well. It did like 10,000 plays.
Gotcha. But sort of specifically then with your music that's part of the scene, because you've been in for so long and it hasn't taken off, people have mockingly said that, like on Reddit, on the subreddit, that you're like a failed Incelcore artist.
Yep.
Even though you're clearly very good on guitar and have very good production value, why do you think this is? This sort of, you've maintained sort of an underground presence.
Partly because of that antisocial thing. I don't like talking to people. So I asked a bunch of people how they got onto the MK Ultra support group albums 3 and 4, because if you'll recall, like those were fucking ginormous. They had like tons of people on them. And I was astounded to find out that they literally just like DM'd Shooter and sent them their music. So if you'll recall at this time too, Shooter, he, at least on Twitter, he was pretty aggravated most of the fucking time. And he tweeted once, like, don't send me music recommendations. I don't give a fuck. So especially considering I was going through a rough time at the time myself, I just wanted to respect the guy's wishes and be like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to bore you with my silly covers of your music or anything like that. So, like, I might be a little bit bigger than what I am if I manage to either A, get on one of those albums or Manson Family Murder Tapes. It just never happened.
Gotcha. And with Manson, it was because the guy didn't like you? That was With Love Mom?
That would be weird, considering my music literally inspired the guy. I don't think that was the case. I think he might have just forgot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, all right. So, yeah, I have noticed that you've done some big collabs. I wouldn't say you're super antisocial. I mean, a lot of guys in the scene, a lot of big names. You've made songs with Hallowed, Cyborg, Fwuppy.
Yep.
But you just can't manage to get on these big albums, huh?
Also, there's a factor involved where I'd rather like write music and try and get some of these guys to perform with me as opposed to like getting my music on a compilation. That's it's cool. It helps get the little funny numbers under your songs, but it doesn't really add anything new or create anything interesting. So I'd rather collab than try and get on a comp or something like that.
Sure. Loser, do you have any insight into this? I mean, being a fellow artist, I don't think you've been on any big albums either, there, Loser.
Well, me and Nation and Owen were both on oh, what's it called? Basement tapes. We were both
Yeah.
on basement tapes. Or well,
Yes.
technically I was. It wasn't called basement tapes though. The second one was I got banned from r/punk. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really know. I guess.
Yeah, the basement tapes are cool. I'm really happy that I got into the company of that crew.
Yeah. But Nation, do you want me to give you like some genuine, like actual advice? Like even if it sounds a little bit, I guess, dickish.
I will take any advice with a grain of salt. Feel free to give it to me.
You should really try looking into like maybe vocal training or
Mhm.
something like that for like your voice, because you're really fucking good with the instrumentals. But I guess one of the I guess I can't think of a proper word other than turn off, which sounds odd. I guess one of the turnoffs that I have with like some of your music is just like some of your vocals, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's not in like a dick way. I don't know why I keep on saying that. You know what I mean?
No, I don't
Yeah.
feel like it's dickish at all, and I know my singing voice isn't the best, which is why I try and get other people to work with me on that front. But it also just kind of depends. Sometimes there are songs where I feel like, I should be the one singing it. It just really depends. I
Yeah,
know I'm
because
not the best vocalist.
I mean, I used to be really shitty at singing. Like my voice was all over the place, but like genuinely, vocal training it helps a shit ton, and it's a little bit expensive, but it's worth it.
I'd probably just watch some YouTube videos because that's
That works
cheap.
too.
Do practice in my room or something like that. Because, like, man, I'm not terrible all around. Because if you remember that one Hallowed collab we did, I did like the second set of harmony vocals because he forgot to record those for me, so I had to do them instead on the second chorus. So, like, when I really feel like I want to do this right, I can do it. Some of my earlier album recordings, I will fully admit to you, the reason those vocals sucked was because I didn't give a shit. I
Yeah,
was really fucked up on drugs and alcohol, and I just didn't give a shit. I was just trying to like get my emotions out.
I mean, like one main thing I kind of noticed with the vocals is sort of like a shakiness in the voice. Yeah, and I don't know if that's like a physical thing, because I know that some people like have sore vocal cords sometimes. But yeah, that's
Got
pretty much that.
asthma and breathing issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you've said, you're clearly nobody can doubt that you're great with guitar and production on music. You really are
Well, I thank you.
phenomenal.
I try.
Do you think maybe part of it also might have to do with you've mentioned obviously that while being in the scene, you are you were an incel who happens to make Incelcore, but a lot of your lyrics never really touch on the themes specifically. Or sorry, you're an incel who happens to make music, but a lot of your because a lot of your lyrics don't really touch on the themes of the scene typically.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered moving more into that? Maybe experimenting with some of these common Incelcore tropes?
If they feel right, yeah, sure, I'm open to writing about anything. So it was ages ago now. I deleted it off of my SoundCloud because I thought I was just going to delete my SoundCloud. I didn't end up doing that, but I had like a series of acoustic covers called Incelcore for Campfires, and I wrote this entire long story that I wanted to turn itself into an original piece of music, and it was going to be like called Incelcore for Campfires. So it's just like, yeah, I do consider the topics of discussion when it comes to the lyrics. Sometimes they resonate with me, sometimes they don't. I obviously resonate with being mad about, I can't get a girl to fuck me or shit like that, or feeling like the world is out to get me and stuff like that. And even still, like for a song like Simp, I wrote a piece of music called Simp, and I mean, I feel like that's kind of like in line with what typical e-punk has in terms of topics, lusting after e-girls and stuff like that.
Sure. And you have had a girlfriend before, right? You've mentioned an ex.
Yeah, I got a girlfriend now too.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not an incel. I'm not an incel anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 2 fake cells we've had on now.
Well, that's
Our
the thing
track
about
record isn't
Incelcore,
working.
right? None of them were. Practically none of them were fucking incels.
Right. And it's very common in here, you know. I mean, I think even I saw on the subreddit the other day, somebody said true cells don't make music. And I mean, it's kind of true. You know, you look around, there's very few and far between, unless you have like Loser or me, you know, but
Well,
it's very
especially when it
rare.
comes to a form of rock and roll music, you got to remember, girls like rock and roll, and if it's new, if it's fresh, it's only a matter of time before women are going to become interested in it and like want to like, hey, I want to meet these artists. They say they look good, you know,
I'm waiting.
like it happens.
I'm waiting.
Well, it takes time, but it happens.
So you're a believer in music maxing?
Yeah, literally, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Sort of continuing with your music, you have we've seen that you've said somewhere, I forget exactly where, but you've said that you'll delete your SoundCloud account in a year if you quote don't see return on your music investment. Is
Yeah, I literally pay $200 a year to keep SoundCloud up. It has its benefits that I can like upload as much music as I want, but like it's been a rough few fucking years and it's getting harder and harder to justify needless expenses like that. You know what I mean? When I can just upload my music. If it's a cover, I can do it nonprofit on Bandcamp. Because right now my SoundCloud is not monetized, but my Spotify, my YouTube algorithm generator, Amazon, if my music's on Amazon, all that's monetized because I'm using like a distribution service to upload that stuff. So, and in the case of symphonic music and DistroKid, I pay significantly less than what I pay for SoundCloud every year. It's a lot of fucking money. I'm kind of broke here, man. Like,
gotcha. What would you consider a good return on your investment in music?
just seeing people interested in what I'm doing and want to be part of it, I guess.
Do you have anything in the works to get that done? You've just been on this comp with Hallowed. Do you have any more plans like that in the works?
So obviously, I plan on contributing to Basement Tapes Part 2.
So that is happening.
Yes, that will be a thing, as
Wow.
far as I know. I have an album coming out here soon. It's going to be called Football, and there's a demo of the song of the self-titled on YouTube. You can find that. But I recently put out a piece of music called Shukara, and that's also going to be on the album. And I also have like other music projects that aren't associated necessarily with what I do as Nation of No One. I'm about to form a new project with this guy I'm going to be moving in with here soon, and the tentative title of it is No Tears in Baseball. And I also am the guitarist / keyboard player for a band called Whiskey Stills and Hash, which is
Wow.
a local jam kind of cover band, I guess. So yeah, I'm involved with a lot of things
Well, very
musically.
good. What's this new solo album that you're making? Like, what are you aiming for with it? The theme, is it going to sound like traditional punk?
It's more like folk punk with some ballads in there. I kind of got really, because you know how everybody, like I said previously, that a lot of the e-punk artists for their live shows, they're not bringing bands, they're bringing themselves with just an acoustic guitar. I figured that's just kind of the move to be making if you can't really put a band together and put together a spiffy show. So I wanted to record an album that would reflect that a little bit better than just faking a band on Ableton and doing what I can with that. And I never really liked playing to backing tracks either.
Gotcha. Okay. And is it going to be, do you plan on it being like a big album, or you have
It's going to be
success in this
shorter
feature?
than The Furnace,
Okay. Gotcha.
about half the length.
All right. Well, very interesting. And also, you had a lot in that first that first monologue there. You mentioned you playing with all these other bands. Are you going to bring somebody on to your music?
I do occasionally every now and again. So the song The Furnace itself, it was actually a rejected recording that I made with Whiskey Stills and Hash. They said I could just use it for my own purposes, so I did. I have collabed with my my friend that I'm gonna be moving in with. His name is Evan. I've collabed with him on several tracks. We did like a parody of Monster Mash. We did a bunch of covers of some of Negative XP and Hard Cry's songs, and yeah, it just kind of depends.
Gotcha. And I'd just like to say, I've noticed you're very open with your real life stuff, that's going on. Are you ever worried about? I mean, the scene is very controversial.
Internet privacy is a joke, anyways. People will find out eventually.
Has it
Yeah, I can
ever?
see.
It's a meme. It's not fucking real.
Yeah, losers actually just run into a a problem with that.
I
Yeah, what's
literally
it called?
have people IRL
Found a
ask
lot of your
me.
stuff.
I even now I have had people in the past ask me IRL about stuff like if I went to Virgin Fest and stuff like that. So like, and then next thing you know, I have to be a third-hand source of information for like, well, why did this get fucked up, or why does this artist not do this anymore? And it's just like, I'm just an observer, man. Like I don't know.
Wow. Has it
Yeah, but
ever?
you have your full name up on like Facebook and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff as well.
Yep.
And then you also have where you're living up on Bandcamp.
Roughly where I'm living, I'm situated
Yeah.
in the Cleveland-ish area.
Wow. Have you ever had anything negative happen because of all this information being
Nope.
public? No?
Nope.
You're not
No.
worried about it at all?
I've had some weird Discord fuckers, completely unrelated to anything with Incelcore. I was catching up with this one guy that used to watch a internet show that I liked called Backyard Blood Sports. I hit him up on Discord one day, and we were just kind of catching up about each other's lives. And he had a bunch of douchebags in his fucking Discord server that, for whatever reason, I think they said they didn't like the sound of my voice, so they started trying to like dox me and find out like where I lived and
Wow.
just crazy shit like that. So that's the first time I ever had anything like that happen, and it never became anything because I just kind of rolled my eyes at it. It's like you're not gonna affect me. What? Call the cops? Blah 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 blah. Like I'm fucking scared of that. Fuck off.
Well, it's good to know that you're very brave in the face of all of this. It's good to see, because I
Yeah.
think it was there was that big Antifa dox that really scared some guys. I think it's still even up of the
Oh yeah,
bigger
Yeah.
artists.
it is. It even has I find it to be really fucked up because it has Steak Fry on there. They're a literal dead man, and they're keeping his docs up.
Yeah, they have people on that shit that are obviously not Nazis or
Yeah.
right-wing supremacists, and it's Antifa is Antifa. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. And yeah, I have been concerned in the past, of course, of this happening to me. But then again, I'm not a very important person. I'm low key, so
Sure.
like they've never fucked with me.
You think that that's like a motivator for keeping it kind of low key, so that you don't get like too into it with Antifa?
Nah. I honestly wouldn't mind getting into it with them a little bit. I did Antifa is gay with Durst the Worst because I
Yeah.
fucking hate them.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
was
they're
just
not
about
even
to
really
bring that
around
up.
anymore. They're kind of gone. Like, I mean, in the Incelcore, anyways. I don't see them around anymore.
yeah, I mean, like besides that one group of liberals that shut down Jezebel show in Canada, but there hasn't been
Yeah.
any issues since that.
Yeah, I don't know if we see that a lot of people have been talking recently. A lot of big names in the scene have been saying that Incelcore is going to blow up again. So I wonder if that will, if it does, bring more attention.
I personally believe that there is still 100% life within the quote unquote scene. I don't think it's dead. I think a lot of the artists that are have situated themselves around it are going off in their own directions, but a lot of people are also seeing this and looking to their past because they want to hear more music by these artists, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, well what's this? Incelcore, that sounds silly. Okay, I'll listen to it. Oh, actually, this is kind of a banger, even though it's a little lo-fi, you know? So I think there's a little bit of that that's going to go on and continue into the future.
So you're a believer that we're going to come back.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, all right. It's good to hear. I'm glad because
At
a lot
least
of
in
people.
terms of an online presence. I don't know how well it's going to work for like a live show type thing. I think most of the artists are just going to kind of do their own thing and blend into their own local scenes for that kind of thing because that's just going to be easier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think live shows work for like anybody unless you're like the top of the fucking top, like Hollywood bullshit.
Yeah. In the case of the Pennsylvania show, like the only reason I was able to go was because, at least compared to like all the other shows that were happening in Florida and then where Virgin Fest happened, like that was the closest thing I could go to.
Gotcha. And a lot of these live shows too are really done for the artist's sake because, to my knowledge, they never are anything huge, right? There's never like a giant presence of people there specifically to see these artists, and if there are, they're just random people who come from around, wherever this
It's
venue's at.
Yeah, it's very similar to just going to like one of your local shows or knowing a local band. Like 50 something people might show up if it's kind of like a somewhat well-known name in the region, or it might just be a bar with a hotbed of music and people show up there often. So like you get roughly that amount of attendance for these kinds of shows too.
Right. So if the scene's going to blow up, it's going to happen pretty much online, you know?
Yeah, and the blow up is still like it's still going to be kind of like an underground thing still. We're not going to I don't think anyone here is going to become a Taylor Swift. I think I'd like to believe that we all oppose the mainstream music industry, at least to some front, and want to like see that shit get burned to the ground. So
For
like
sure.
yeah, it's still alive. It has many places it can go. Just not to that area, I don't expect.
Well, that sort of then leads into really our last major topic that I have to bring up, anyways. Um, Speaking of Incelcore making a comeback, I voiced my opinion in the last interview with A Clean Break that if it's going to take off, the scene needs to return back to its roots of it being specifically revolving around incels or lonely men, and their struggles. And we need to move away from worrying about these songs of heartbreak and women and, missing women and all that. And you have voiced your disagreement with that take. So I guess I'm wondering, what is your opinion on what the scene needs to look like going forward?
Well, the topical material is a little bit of a side issue. My issue was the idea of participation, because like you take HDMI for instance. I don't know what this person's life is like. They're trans, they're young, but I imagine this person can relate to the idea of sexual frustration, which is what else do you really need to be an incel outside of the fact that you're kind of pissed off that you can't get fucking laid, and it might be having a negative consequence on your personality or just generally your social life. So
Gotcha.
I
So,
mean,
I feel like a trans person can feel like that. I feel like a biological woman can feel like. I feel like anybody can feel like that.
yeah, but the thing is, HDMI is a 6'4" Chad that is pretending to be a girl.
That might be the case. Again, I don't know HDMI's life, but hey,
Oh yeah.
take a look back to the topic of Exo Willow. Exo Willow
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
trans.
he was a gay black dude.
I don't even know if he's well. If you
He was
unless you
wearing
say
a skirt
dressing up
and
as a girl.
makeup.
Yeah, he dressed up. He cross dressed, but like
It's
I
pretty
don't know if
fucking gay to me.
I mean, it's outwardly gay. I don't know if he actually likes guys or something like that. I don't care who or what he fucks at the end of the day. But in any case, yeah, like he wasn't a tranny. He wasn't like so, and that was like at the start of Incelcore too. Like that was when MK Ultra was a thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but he was also he was kind of, I don't know if grifting is the right word, but he was also in Scenecore underneath the alias of Heart Crush. Because
oh
he was
yeah,
kind of playing both sides.
that's the crazy thing about him too that I really respect. Like he's another one of those artists that puts his like doesn't put all his eggs into one basket. He does a lot of different things and constantly
Mhm.
reinvents himself. Obviously, he's performing under neither of these names anymore. He
Yeah,
got a
because
really big following.
in the end, it kind of fucked him over because all the Heart Crush fans were like, "Oh, this guy's an incel? What?" And then all of the EXO Willow fans were like, "What? This guy makes scenecore music?" So it kind of didn't go well for him in the very end. I mean, it was well in the beginning; he was getting popular and stuff, but then people found out he had a distinct like vocal preset that he was using.
Hmm. The major thing that kind of put a squash to that more than anything, though, was like a lot of people were trying to cancel him and say that he was a pedophile, which was fucking stupid because he was underage at the time.
Oh,
and
I don't
stuff.
remember that.
Yeah, so when he first got on MK Ultra and started making music, apparently he was pretty fucking young. He was like 14 years old. So
Yeah.
like a bunch of people got online, got on his case, and tried to say he was a kind of similar to what a bunch of people did to Jezebel. And well, it wasn't the case. Anybody with half a brain could realize it wasn't the case. You can't be a fucking if you're a kid yourself still. So I think that was the main reason he stopped using those titles. Plus, the artistic drive to do something different probably played a role as well.
Sort of coming back then to the debate, you've I could see there being an argument for like, well, you know, somebody like HDMI who is a biological man, like, oh, well, can't he be an incel too? It's like, okay, maybe there's an argument to be made there. But what about like Bryn or Jezebel Gabergaboy, you know, women in the scene? What is your take on that?
Well, in the case of Jezebel, when she started releasing music too, she was pretty young and probably had a hard time finding a date at that time too. So at least in terms of like the genuine frustration there, that might have checked out. So
I disagree with that because she's a woman.
So
so it's very much easier for them. It's infinitely easier for them.
I agree. I agree that
age.
it's easier for women to get a date, but that also doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna. Because, you know, it might be a personal issue with them for why they don't actually go out with somebody.
Well, I think in order for them to not get a date, you'd have to first go out with them and then realize, oh, this isn't going to work because she's weird or something like that. So you'll still be going on dates. But the thing is, with guys like myself, or a lot of fans in the scene, we don't even get that far. You know?
Yeah, like, so with women like Jezebel and stuff, you said that it's like hard for them to pick who they want. That's the big difference because we're the ones that are getting actually picked. Like we don't have a choice. So like she could totally get with a guy. She could get with like a sub
get with me
or whatever. Yeah, she could get with those over here. Gets dick wet with some Jezebel Garberga belly pussy.
Well, my perspective on the matter is this. I hate to kind of like bring this up, but Figs, you're pretty fucking young yourself at this rate, especially compared to me. Not super young, but young enough to where like if you're a 23-year-old person and you're having a bit of a hard time like meeting members of the opposite sex, like it makes a lot of sense because whether you like to admit it or not, you're still very young. You still have many, many years ahead of you before you can really say, like, it's quote unquote over. I can't get laid. I can't get this. Like, you still got to roll the dice, man. Life is still going on.
This reminds me of that meme where it's like the Giga Chad and he's got a long gray beard and he's like, I'm only 23. It's over. You know, I'm turning 23. It's over.
Just turned 18. It's fucking over. Like that.
But I actually wanted to do a sort of like song because like a lot of the artists in the scene like write a song called It's Over and talk about like that idea of like you've hit your peak or something and you'll never get further than where you think you are at right now. So my problem with that is that I have been at that point so many times myself, and yet I wake up to another fucking day and it just keeps going on. So like for as soon as you think it's over, it really isn't.
Well,
and there's opportunity in that.
I can appreciate your white-pilled stance on these sort of things, but
I don't even think it's white-pilled. It's just honest, because like it could get worse. Like worse.
Well, yeah,
but
that's what white-pilled is. You know, glass half full, taking the blows one day at a time. But as a 23-year-old, the reason why I would say it's over is because after high school and then after college, which not everybody goes to, but after college, you really lose access, like easy, consistent access to girls. And if you can't find a chick by that age, or even if you have simply never had a date by that point, like if I had a couple of dates, maybe I'd feel better about myself, but I haven't. And so that really does lean into a guy thinking it's truly over, like it's never happening, which is where I think a lot of incels get that mindset from, because past that point, then that's why you'll see the Giga Chad with the big long white beard saying I'm 23.
And again, like I said, I've been in that same kind of situation and felt that way before, but also in addition to that, you have to remember that life is very complex. Like the worst thing today might be that you feel like you can't get laid, but then the next day can come around and you have no money in your bank account and you're homeless and like you can't get a fucking bite of food to eat too. So
Right.
like, you know, life is hard, you know.
Well, sure, but
Yeah.
now you're just like my mom when I won't eat my food, and she's like, "Don't you know there's starving kids in Africa?" It's like, well, I still don't want to eat these, vegetables.
And should people really have to settle for like mediocrity just based off of like, oh, but it could be worse?
No, but you should also not just like flat out give up and like have this eternally pessimistic view that isn't rooted in the facts of reality either.
You
And
know, a
I
lot of
can,
it is rooted in facts.
well, as a Christian myself, I can agree with you that being black-pilled and where you're constantly depressed is a bad thing. I totally agree with that. I consider myself I'm a relatively joyful person, like I like to meme about being a true cell and all that, which sucks, obviously, but I don't let it get me down too much. But I can respect that there are plenty of guys out there who it does deeply affect and who do have a hard time seeing the good side of things because they have been isolated from all of these otherwise normal experiences for, people who are not ugly or who aren't, mental cells, people who think normally and aren't autistic. And my whole thing with Incelcore, when I first got into it, I didn't have this happy-go-lucky mindset. I was very, down in the dumps. But I found the scene and I saw that there's a bunch of guys who are also, kind of spurgs and kind of weird and don't fit in with society. The music clicked with me. The community is full of guys like myself. I was just talking with Loser here how you can meet a guy in this scene and like instantly relate to them on a lot of things, which is truly unique on the internet where guys like ourselves are not accepted. I mean, incel is a self-applied label. A lot of people forget that. And if you self-apply that label to yourself, people do not typically want to be around you anywhere else except here.
So that's also another beautiful thing about this scene too. You've expressed your own personal concerns with how, like, with the age you're at, you're not in a environment in which you get to meet women. But remember the point I made earlier: women like rock and roll music. So a lot of women became interested, even though it was quote unquote Incelcore. A lot of women got interested in it and wanted to participate in the scene themselves. So I say, let them in.
Well, yeah, but the women getting involved in it do so for the attention that these ugly guys will give them. They're not actually going to get with them. Me and Loser made a song about that.
Yeah.
They come into the scene, and the scene is full of fake cells, as we've already gone over, who, guys who are not ugly or who aren't even autistic or weird, and they just like making punk. And these women come in looking for those guys, but gladly taking the attention of these other, the actual incels, the guys who will flock to them and be like, oh my gosh, you're pretty, or oh my gosh, I love your music, even though, it objectively sucks.
And then when people actually spot that and start saying things like, get the fuck out of here, like, what are you doing? It's like, we don't want to give you the attention. Then they resort to like, oh, well, I'm just going to kill myself on camera. I'm going to send you a picture of me killing myself. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to do it, guys. It's like that kind of shit.
And then you
I've
get all
seen
their
that
white
happen.
knights coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen 3 too many times.
That's big. I mean, like, yeah, women can be unstable, but especially if your goal is to eventually, like, get a girl, then you need to have some level of association with them, even if it's just a surface level, giving them attention or them giving you attention. You got to start somewhere, you know what I mean? Obviously, you might find a girlfriend at some point, and it might not be the girl you spend the rest of your life with, but that's just kind of how life works.
Right. But sort of what we're saying is that with this scene, you have these women come in, and as Loser pointed out, they kind of blow up the culture of it because they become like, if they are not getting attention, they will be upset about that. Or if they get negative attention, like people saying, you got to leave and we're not going to, associate with you. They get upset with that and they start blowing things up, even with Raven. she's done that on her own, like with some things, right? As you talked about
Happened
with
with Bryn.
Doomerfest. It's happened with Bryn.
Fair enough, but I think a guy can act spurgy in that regard too.
Well,
You know what I mean?
sure, but not. It's like with the guys, it's
Like a
kind of like
different
case by
kind of
case
spur.
basis. With the girls, it's kind of like every single one of them is bound to do that at some point.
Yeah, I understand your reservations, but what I will say again is this: whatever kind of music you may call it, whatever the fuck you want, it's still just organized sound.
And I can kind of agree with that because I've talked with Ghost, Not Okay Ghost, about this, where you'll have these guys being like, "Do not call me Incelcore." You know, I hate that scene. But then they make Incelcore. You know, it clearly sounds like the scene.
Yeah, no, I feel like that thing's just like super goofy, and it's always the people who are like clearly don't have like racist bones in their body. But if you'll remember Pacific Purgatory, he did the I disavow Incelcore thing.
Oh,
I apologize for any racism or stuff that I helped
And then he pulled an
support.
EXO Willow and started wearing makeup.
Yeah, well, so the thing about that is it's like it was pretty blatant that the guy didn't have those kinds of views. Like anybody who actually gave a shit and paid attention to that.
Mhm.
So like, I just feel it's kind of silly at the end of the day. Whether it doesn't matter whether you call it Incelcore or E-Punk, just make music and make it however you want.
And see, I agree with you there. It's just my problem isn't with the guys who accidentally make Incelcore, because I like Pacific Purgatory, even if he's disavowed the whole scene. His music's like,
great.
yeah, his music's great. If he ever started calling himself Incelcore, I'd be like, hold up a second, you've disavowed us. You should not do that, you know. And so that's what my thing is. These people who come in and say I'm Incelcore, but they're not. You know, that's the issue. Not the people who accidentally make it. Those people are just whatever. But these people who come in are like, I am Incelcore, and it's a woman, or it's HDMI. It's like, no, you're not. You need to leave.
Well, for my experience of the scene, when it comes to the Incelcore label, I feel like the core identity was really formed around the first two MK Ultra albums, and even Jezebel, for as much as I love her music, she wasn't on the MK Ultra support group albums until 3 and 4. So, but that also goes back into the point of where artists were doing this kind of music that you wouldn't consider incels were still being involved in it nonetheless.
Right, but also, and I talked about this last interview a little bit, and I just want your opinion. I sort of think that the scene isn't built, you know, it's not really built. It sort of like evolves. And so whether it was started with the MSG albums, just because you had a few fake cells on there doesn't mean, okay, this scene is now only for fake cells. It's like, no, the main user base is going to be people like me, you know, the main fan base is going to be guys like me, or similar at least, you know, maybe lonely guys, you know, or guys who feel like outcasts.
I agree with you on
what happens pretty much, it's what happened with punk, why Incelcore came to be eventually. A bunch of women and social minorities kind of came into it, and they pushed out all of the guys that had like altering or different views. And then basically that's what I'm seeing happen with like Incelcore and some parts of it, where it's just going to be a bunch of like social minorities, racial minorities, and women all coming in here, and then they're like, hey, this is our scene now, and we don't really like the racism, guys. We don't like the sexism. So you guys are going to have to go make your own scene. And then it's going to happen again. It's going to be a loop. That's going to be like, oh, what? You're making I don't know, Incel Punk now? It's like going to be a new name. And then, oh, you're making Incel Punk? Well, it blew up on TikTok, and now we're going to come in here. Oh, you guys are racist? Oh, get out of here. Get them out. It's going to be like a fucking loop.
Yeah.
think a lot of scenes just generally go through that period. I don't think there really is anything that we can do to like stop that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
You have to fight
Well, we
back.
gatekeep. We gatekeep.
Revolution.
That's what the whole debate's about. We start gatekeeping.
But then it won't be an evolving thing. It'll be an organized thing. Like you said, the scene kind of evolved naturally. It wasn't like directed, and Negative XP didn't really have these grand ambitions with what he was trying to set out and create. So
Still evolve it musically without evolving it socially.
I think just with evolving it, like it'll retain some core aspects, but it will still, you know, as you said, it will evolve. but I think we should retain a few core aspects that really give it its uniqueness, which is, the incel kind of mentality or relatability. That should be one of the aspects that evolves with it. You have a fish that evolves, or if you believe in that, you have a fish that evolves, and it'll still keep its gills and its fins, but it'll look entirely different. So those core aspects should be the ones that it has, now, which is the.
But even with incel subculture, though, that really just blew up generally on the internet roughly around the same time that this music phenomena started to be a thing too. And I feel like that was probably one of the reasons Negative XP wanted to start calling his music e-punk, because I think he felt like it was just more of a reflection of internet culture at varying times. Because you'll recall, he wrote a song called Gorilla Grip Pussy, and it's obviously a song about having sex. So, he doesn't dive too deep into that topical material. He just kind of writes whatever the fuck he feels like that day.
Right. And I think that's still a core aspect of the scene is internet culture, because obviously that's where we all operate out of.
Yeah.
But I always have to disagree with people when they bring up what Shooter's doing. Shooter has completely distanced himself from the scene. He blew up to the wolves. He destroyed that channel. He clearly has no sympathy or kind words towards this scene anymore. So he has nothing to do with it. It's sort of taken on its own form, and now I think we all agree, since it's about to blow up again, it's about to make a resurgence, it's important that this debate is had on what it is before we start seeing who we should support and who we should tell to get lost, as the numbers are going to start going up, right?
Hey, I think you should be able to decide for that for yourself. It's not going to stop me from making whatever kind of music I want to make. And as far as the artists go, I would suggest that they follow the same route.
Of course. And for what it's worth, I would still consider you part of the scene. A lot of your music, as I talk with Break, you can say you're not you can be a fake cell, but still being a lonely guy or feeling like you don't fit in with society, that whole punk-ness of the scene still makes you a part of it, and
yeah.
As we said, you just make music, and if it happens to be Incelcore, well, then that's what it is. And, if most of your music is Incelcore, well, then, frankly, you're part of the scene,
Yeah, and I have fun playing with that. I like trying to put things out there for people and have them have like have a part of them where they have to like decide for themselves whether what this is or not fits their preconceived notions. And I hope that I can break down some of those barriers a little bit. I like the idea of being able to break down barriers with my music.
For sure. That's the essence of punk, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's really most of the main things I want to talk about. Loser, do you have anything that you want to bring up with Nation of No One?
I actually do. I've been thinking about this. Your anti-Christian videos and songs. I mean, I've seen some where it was like, I don't know, this sort of image. It was like of a crucifixion, and I don't remember the exact context behind it, but I just remember it was very bloody. And then I also remember you saying in your abortion video that belief in God is stupid.
Yeah, so I used to be an edgy atheist because I was really big into Ayn Rand of all things. If you go to my Twitter account, I literally have in my bio that it's a great day to not be an objectivist anymore because it's all just retarded rubbish. So, like, I recently have adopted a sort of spirituality. I'm poor in spirit. I still have a lot to learn about, like, the divine and faith and all that stuff. I have
Wow.
I've started reading something called the Bhagavad Gita, which is a book of Indian religious philosophy that was popularized by the Krishna consciousness movement. So I float kind of in there, but I've also been reading more of the Bible, and I'm trying to like just learn more about like what is in religion that I think I've come to the realization that I've been missing in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's actually really cool. I'm glad to see that, people grow up.
Yeah.
You think that'll be reflected in your music at all? These new
It already
spiritual
is.
themes?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's if you go listen to the song Shukara, that's literally about feeling detached from God and resorting to drinking alcohol and like engaging in bad habits and literally putting yourself in a state of hell. The word shukara, I read somewhere some Indian sects believe it to be a special hell specifically designed for people who are alcoholics, for people who drink wine, as they describe it. So
And
that's what that song's about.
You used to be an alcoholic. You've quit, right?
No, I'm still an alcoholic. I can either be an active alcoholic or an inactive alcoholic. I'm still an alcoholic, and yeah, I've been struggling with my sobriety lately.
Well, it's
not a fun topic to talk about, but I'm also going to be honest about it, you know.
Well, I'd just like to say I'm not going to dive into it too much. I'm just going to say it's very refreshing to have a guy in the scene who's actually combating these urges. It seems like a lot of dudes simply just give into it.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Nation of No One redemption arc coming up here.
It's a long redemption arc, my guy. It
Sure.
Really is.
No more black and white pictures of you wearing a upside down cross face paint.
Yeah, no. I mean, I might still wear face paint. That's just dressing up. That's just looking goofy for the sake of looking goofy, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's your profile picture, isn't it?
That was a profile picture I used in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if which account it would be on now as my main.
I think it's on
Oh no,
Bandcamp or something.
I mean your SoundCloud account. It's an edited picture of you wearing like a funky mask, right, or something.
Yeah, that's a mask. I mean, I was just trying to look like, man. Do you remember Hard Christ's profile picture for a while? Like he had a mask on or something like that. So I was trying to do something similar to that.
Oh, gotcha.
Just my own way.
I think it's a pretty cool picture, frankly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's good too. I wanted to use it as like a album art cover too.
Yeah, do you have anything more, Loser?
Hold on.
We've covered a lot of topics here.
Yeah, no, we have gone over quite a bit. No, I don't really think so. That's kind of it.
Is there any questions you may have for us, Nation?
Yeah, sure. Who's going to be on the next episode?
Well, I don't want to disclose that, but it's gonna
might be able to tell you in.
Yeah, you can tell me
after
the recording if you want.
It's gonna be huge. So everybody should see the next episode. It's gonna be big. Everybody should see this one too, obviously, but the next episode is gonna be huge.
Yeah, so I mean, the last thing I can say is what I told you in DMs. I think music is God's gift to everybody, and whether you call it Incelcore, E-Punk, or whatever silly term people are coming up with music these days, I think you should be able to feel the inspiration and create whatever kind of music you want.
It's a very beautiful message. If you want to go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and follow you, and if you want to make any big announcements, feel free to go right ahead.
Yeah, you can find my music on SoundCloud, Spotify. Just released an album called The Furnace. As you said at the start of the interview, I have an acoustic album I'm coming out with here soon, and that is the most solid project I have planned. And I have 2 collaborative, creative collectives that I'm working with. One is a tentative band, one is a local cover band, and we're going to be... Well, actually, the cover band, we are releasing some original music here soon. We haven't come up with a name for the album, but the band is called Whiskey Stills and Hash. You can find that on Spotify as well. And but you can't find that on SoundCloud, though. You only find that on Spotify. We already have one album out. And besides that, though, I'm just kind of like letting the world take me wherever it takes me. I don't have any plans besides that.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here, dude. It's very cool to have you on. And a regular old head, you know, you've been here forever, and it's great to get some of your insight into the history of the scene. And takes a little bit of bravery to come on for a second episode. You know, we've only got 2 episodes. We're still establishing ourselves here, but hopefully we'll get some more people on in the future. So
I really look forward to seeing how this turns out. I remember you posting about this project you wanted to do on Reddit, and so far I think you've done pretty well as the host of this program. So I'm really excited to see where this podcast goes.
Well, thank you very much, man. I guess with that, we can bid you farewell. Again, thanks for being on.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. You two have a good evening, and yep, take care.
Well, all right. So that was a great interview with Nation of No One, I think. I think that went very well. Do you have any final thoughts on that, Loser?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. I'm glad to see that he's grown up from some past beliefs.
I
And
know.
yeah, it was fun talking to him.
Yeah, we were looking into him a little bit before this interview,
Yeah.
obviously, and there I was seeing some things where I was like, geez, you know, a
It's a little bit yeah, it was a little
little bit
bit
edgy.
interesting.
But no, he's been at this for a very long time, and it shows in his music. He's very talented. He's very skilled. I am a little disappointed that he's not more popular because he's really able to work a guitar.
Yeah.
But hopefully, he'll his new music will bring some interesting things to the table. He'll be able to carve out a spot for himself in the scene.
Yeah. We got to go
But
show him some good old-fashioned incel love.
right. This is the first time I'm hearing of the Basement Tapes Part 2. Did you know about this?
Yes, I did know about
What?
it.
Yeah, thanks for telling me.
No, it's just he hasn't posted about it for like almost 2 months now. He just like I don't know. I didn't know if it was like starting or not. I just knew that it was a possibility.
Gotcha. Well, I imagine it's going to be great because the first one was I love the first one. First one's awesome. It had some great new artists on it. A few songs that I still have in some of my playlists, that I listen to.
Yeah.
So very excited to see that.
I'm definitely
Um,
hoping the second one's a little bit less shit posty than r/punk.
I guess we can just remind the audience this is turning into a bi-weekly thing. So every 2 weeks, we're going to try to do this show. So hopefully you'll be here for the next one. Again, as we said, it's going to be a big one. Hope to see everybody there. Follow us on Twitter at E-CEL Network and DM us there if you are a musician who wants to get an interview. We'd love to have you on. Also, if you're an artist, graphical or otherwise, please let us know. We could use some more help in the art department. I'm currently doing the entirety of that myself. But yeah, with that, also follow LoserGirlfriend on SoundCloud. He's got some great collabs that he just put out with Cringer and 404 Me. And do you have anywhere else people can follow you?
I'm on YouTube. I post a I post some videos there, but you know, they're a little bit off.
You also have a Twitter account, right? But that's
Yeah, Twitter
currently
is privated. Just send me a follow request. I'll look over your profile, make sure you're not
Brazilian.
and then I'll let you in.
awesome. And you can follow me too. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel. I make music on SoundCloud, and I have a Twitter account. All those links are going to be in the description. Don't forget to check out the E-CEL Bitchute channel for any extra clips that we might have had to cut out here. So with that, I guess that's it.